Hello, everybody. Welcome to our community chat today to talk about how we can support new moms. It's a great crowd. We're going to start today. My name is Courtney Evans. I'm the Director of Advancement here, and we're going to start today with a word from our sponsor, Park Community Credit Union. Ellie Yergis is going to come up and do a welcome.
Thank you. And I forgot my good readers, so I had to print it really big. So bear with me. I'm in that phase where I refuse to admit that I need them. As she said, I am Ellie Yerkes with Park Community Credit Union. We are proud to be supporting and sponsoring today and joining you all. At Park Community, we are more than a financial institution. We are a mission-driven organization where it's really important for us to partner in our communities along journeys that you all are having, such as today. Our purpose is simple yet very powerful. We serve to empower communities, fuel dreams, and cultivate belonging. We believe that when individuals and families have access to the right financial tools, education, and support, entire communities can thrive. So an important question that we always ask ourselves, especially which is important today, is how can we build a community where every new mother and family feel seen and supported? And what we can do is continue asking those important questions at Park Community Credit Union. Raising a family takes a village, and having access to resources, the correct support networks, and financial guidance can make a meaningful difference during these big life transitions. At Park, we talk about Vibe a lot. Vibe reflects who we are and how we serve in our communities. It represents our commitment to creating meaningful connections with people, fostering inclusion, cultivating belonging, and empowering individuals and families to achieve their goals. We strive to bring energy in our communities, purpose with every interaction that we have with individuals and with families, and we want to make sure people feel welcomed when they walk into Park Community and interact with our staff and employees. You are valued and supported. That's what Park stands for. One of the most important ways that we live our mission, is through financial education. We do that by empowering our communities to attend financial classes that are around budgeting, helping with any money matters that they might have. When our communities have knowledge, they feel more confident in decisions that they make. They feel confident in planning for future life expectancies and what their goals look like. We can help them achieve those goals. So, whether you're preparing for a new baby, building that emergency fund, purchasing a new home, paying down debt, planning for any of your family's future, every step towards that is your financial wellness, and it matters. For families, one of the most valuable habits is planning budgeting together. Money conversations can sometimes feel very uncomfortable, but they are very essential. When families create a budget together, and I am going to read a little bit of this because this is pretty good. They establish shared goals, build healthy financial habits, and gain a better understanding of how to prioritize their needs and wants. Understanding needs and wants is huge for every family. We all want big things, but what do you need day to day? Budgeting can help reduce the stress that you're experiencing, prepare for any unexpected expenses that may come along, and create opportunities that'll help you save for that solid financial future. For new parents, especially, budgeting can provide peace of mind during seasons filled with lots of change. It allows families to plan for childcare, healthcare expenses, education, savings, and so many of the unexpected costs that we all come upon. At Park Community, we are honored to serve as a trusted partner on that journey along with you. Through financial education, community partnerships like today, and personalized financial solutions, everyone at Park Community is here to help. We are committing to helping you as an individual, helping you as a family, and building your financial plans. So I thank you for allowing us to be a part of today. We're excited to build upon this sponsorship. And if you have any questions about Park Community Credit Union and some financial budgeting resources, I'll be here until the end, and I'm happy to talk with all of you. So thank you. And now David's going to do some introductions. I'm just short.
No, you're fine. It's pointing up to the speaker.
Thank you. Hello, I'm David Fink. I'm the CEO of Jewish Family and Career Services. Thank you all for being here today. A couple of things before we get started. The sign in front of me says something like amazing dialogue building community. And at JFCS, we believe very strongly in the importance of building a stronger Louisville community. You can't do that without starting with a family. And that's what tonight is, or this afternoon's talk begins to cover. And so I'm excited about this topic. For those of you who don't know, this is videotaped. So if you have, but it's videotaped from behind. So none of your faces will be on the screen except for the panelists and the moderator, who I'll introduce in a moment. But it will be posted to our YouTube account in a few days so that if other people that you know were unable to attend and want to watch the video, they're welcome to do that. So now I have the honor of introducing this afternoon's moderator, who I've had the privilege of getting to know fairly well over the last 5 years as CEO here. Helene Traeger-Kussman is an integrative nutrition health coach and a podcast host and a pre- and postnatal yoga teacher. She hosts the Mind Body Mother podcast, which explores physical and mental well-being for all who identify with the motherhood journey. Helene provides one-on-one group and community coaching experiences that lead to long-lasting and sustainable health and wellness through all phases of life. If you ever are looking for a board member who will always ask good questions in a supportive way, but make you think, Helene is a great board member. Now, you can't have her because she's still on our board, but she's fantastic. So with that, I'm going to introduce Helene, who will start us off with our panelists.
Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone for coming and joining us this afternoon for this community chat on becoming new mothers and the postpartum experience. So we really appreciate you all being here. We have some amazing panelists here today who really represent all different professional and personal backgrounds and expertises. So we're really grateful to have them here and grateful that you're spending the afternoon with us. So first I'd like to introduce today's panelists. So I'll tell you a little bit more about them. We have another board member here. So Dr. Abby O'Brien Hahn. She is an OBGYN at Baptist Health Louisville. She hails from East Tennessee, completed all of her education in New Orleans, then moved to Louisville for residency, where she met her wife, Renee. They, along with their son, Max, who is here today, have put down roots in Crescent Hill. Abby has dedicated her life to supporting women in all stages of their lives. She is passionate about keeping women safe and healthy throughout pregnancy, but also believes a multifaceted approach is necessary to truly support mothers. Outside of her profession, Abby enjoys long family hikes with their 2 hound dogs, Gizmo and Norman, making pottery and reading fantasy novels. So that's Dr. Abby. And then we have Alexa Cisney. Alexa is a certified labor doula, a newborn care specialist, birth assistant, and professional postpartum and lactation educator based here in Louisville, Kentucky. As the founder of Alexa's Birth Services and the executive director of Granny's Birth Initiative, she supported more than 80 births and over 100 maternal and family care journeys. Alexa is dedicated to improving maternal and infant health outcomes through education, advocacy, and community-based support services for families across Kentucky. Outside of her professional work, she enjoys spending time with her son, salsa dancing, and traveling to maternal child health and salsa conferences nationwide. So wanted to read their full bios so you can really learn more about them. And then we have Jennifer Hartman. So Jennifer is a licensed professional counselor associate and certified perinatal mental health counselor. She's also a certified positive discipline parent educator, offering parenting support at JFCS. Jennifer has a background in various nonprofits and community-based mental health organizations, in addition to private practice. Jennifer works with adolescents, adult individuals, and couples. She's especially passionate about working with perinatal mental health needs and offering parenting support as a certified positive discipline parent educator. And she's also a mom to 2 kids. And I also have a 3 and 6-year-old. So we're all moms, and we're all really excited to be here and get to chat about all this stuff that I know is near and dear to everyone's hearts here. So thank you for being here and part of today's conversation. Before we dive into today's questions, we want to just take a moment to discuss kind of the importance of this topic and why we're here. So new mothers have to navigate physical recovery, emotional challenges, and just the different changes in their caregiving roles. So there's really a lot that they're going through and navigating all at once. So our goal for today's conversation is to, number one, really center on the real experiences of new moms. So not just talk about things in this big, broad way, but you're going to hear about specific takeaways that you can really hear from the expertise here, and then bring back some practical insights and also actionable ideas to your work or your personal lives. We also want to explore how professional caregivers and the community can just better show up and respond. So that's a big theme for today that we'll be diving into, is how can we just better show up as a community in a more effective way for new moms. So we're really fortunate to have an incredible panel of experts representing medical care, birth support, and also mental health. So you'll get a real holistic view on some of the topics that we get into today. There's a QR code as well that we'll share that you can scan. So it's on the paper in front of you. And we want today to also be interactive as much as possible. So you're here, you're spending your time here. You might have questions that come up that you'd like to ask today's panelists. So please, please, please scan the QR code. I'm going to be checking my phone. So if you see me looking down at my phone, I'm checking to see those questions coming in. And just let us know kind of what you want us to ask them so we can get into exactly what you're hoping to get out of today. Our first question is, what are some of the most common challenges that postpartum moms face, and what parts go unseen or undiscussed? Do you want to start this one?
I'll go ahead and get
Yeah.
started. Is this on? Sisa? Is this on? Pull it closer. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. So, back. But
Is that better?
yeah.
Perfect. So something that I see a lot is what is called the default parent situation, where mothers, especially as a very broad generalization, tend to be the default parent. And so a lot of times what we'll see in the lead up to birth and then postpartum, which is typically about at least 2 years after birth, there's this socialized expectation that moms have got it, we know what to do, and everything's just kind of a given. Of course, we're going to be tired, or it's hormones or things like that, and it's just not always that simple. And so a lot of times things will get overlooked because there's this expectation that's just put on, whether it's an internal sense, from an individual feeling like they have to do it all, and well, I'm a parent, I should be able to figure this out, or if it's pressure from around too. Along with that, though, I also see a lot of isolation that just happens organically. That can start to happen very late in pregnancy, as we're preparing, and just physically can get more tiring too. But then very much there's the initial excitement of a new baby, and people want to show up at your house and see the baby and hold the baby, and some people love that, not everyone does. But over time, it gets a lot harder too. As those months goes on, as a year or two goes on, and people are less excited to come show up and help as well. So that's something that I'm seeing a lot.
Yeah, I heard you mention a year or two. So maybe, Alexa, if you want to also take this question and focus in a little bit too on kind of that time period.
I know for Granny's Birth Initiative, but even as when I was practicing direct services as Alexa's Birth Services, it was just the fact that we were already normalizing a shorter postpartum period than what we actually experience as women. So it was also the fact that even though I was a resource to women that had money or a resource that don't have money, they're being told that it's not needed. They're, like, why would you need it? Why should you need it? And I feel like that's where, for me, to be able to assess on just like on both sides, like, because we are in our maternal health crisis. Then you have your racial health disparities between that too. So where I feel like the overcasting on no matter what's going on before we apply the isms, that major standard definition that we have that postpartum is that first 6 weeks. And to some of us that work in the field, we know that they give us a little bit more time. But to the everyday person, if they're being told that they're supposed to go back to work in 6 weeks, they're thinking that the normal standard is that their postpartum healing, mental, emotional, everything should be aligned within that six weeks. And that is how they move forward. It took a lot for me to really learn that because I did support mothers before I became a mother, if that makes sense. So I learned a lot from my clients, and I always had just wondered, like, why were they not calling me back postpartum? Does that make sense? But it was a lot of it is they just thought that they should be able to do those things. It actually became a lot more, people utilized it more when I was just calling to say like, hey, girlie, I'm in the neighborhood. Can I pull up on you? Does that make sense? It is a little bit here and there that people are truly just still trying to understand what doulas do and how we can support them, and all these resources and things like that. Understanding the language of the services, like nesting services was one of the most popular services postpartum that I had, where I'm helping the mothers change their rooms. The 6 months come fast. Now the new baby's clothes need to come in and the other ones need to go out. That's a nesting service. But we don't use nesting service, but they've taught us that women nest instinctually, right? So it's a little bit of just like, even when they are looking for help, they're having to be the leaders. This, of course, is when we would love for our partners to step up, but they're going through it too. And I feel like that's also the part that's unseen, is we're also expected to not only figure out and lead our own healing, but it's very hard for partners, especially male partners, to seek out their own resources as well, because they don't even feel like they need to go to seek out support classes on skills, because the default parent effect has already came in as well. So it's the physical, it's the mental, it's all of the things that we're also carrying. And as much as they tell us to submit, when we're the ones that are supposed to be able to submit and surrender, because we have surrendered our bodies, we really don't have an option, that we're still then tacked on with the mental load.
So much there. Really appreciate you all sharing. Abby, if you could share about some of what you see go undiscussed, maybe from your perspective in the medical side too.
Absolutely. I think so much of what you guys have already brought up that's the salient point, is that I am a part of classic Western medicine as an OBGYN, and I think in the United States specifically, the paradigm is that pregnancy is often this like medical experience, and then you come to me and like that's all that needs to happen. And so creating events like this and creating community infrastructure so that people recognize both like for supporting mothers and within themselves to give themselves permission to need those resources, I think that's so important. Thinking about like this postpartum period and the definition of that, like the cultural conversation is important more than just so we all know to like to continue to give mom support, but it is what businesses create postpartum policies based on this concept. Insurance, like Medicaid, runs out at 6 weeks. 6 weeks, that's crazy when you're thinking about how much healthcare people need for the years following deliveries. These policies affect so many aspects of our world. And so I think really, and then the other reality is, as a physician, I got trained on none of this, ever. No one in medical education thought this was important, and there's reasons for that, but it's been really on me as an individual in creating my practice to recognize these things and implement them, and there's a lot of different things that I do to really address these issues.
We had our first question come in, and it's really relevant to what we're discussing right now. How can we advocate for ourselves if we feel unsupported?
I appreciate how much we as doulas have the space to advocate. And I do always try to encourage, even if it seems like you were not able to be heard or did not have a doula, when you see open panels by doula-led organizations and communities, we are trying to connect with you. I have been a doula that has always made it a requirement for me to go to Frankfurt every year since I touched the ground, because I was seeing that, to me, this is why voices were going unheard. She needed to be at home healing, and then life is lifing. And I felt like, okay, so the more I learned about the maternal health crisis and the more that I needed to advocate in the birthing space and learn more about the adult world, it wasn't enough. And then if doulas advocate, then I needed to be taking their stories to Frankfurt as much as possible. So I know that not every profession is at such liberty, because even the ones that you are venting and talking to, like a wonderful therapist and your wonderful OBs, like that, their day jobs of where they're making that positive impact kind of keeps them binded there. So the more that people learn about what doulas do, I do my best to educate and invite people. Email, write us in, don't even wait for the event, but we do uplift and advocate.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that's such an invaluable role that doulas play in this pregnancy experience. Ultimately, as an individual, like as a mother or a patient or whatever that identity is, for better or for worse, I do think asking somebody. I hope that you're with an obstetrician who has a network of resources and absolutely is ready to hear that. Or I was really happy to find at our pediatrician that I filled out a postpartum depression score at every single visit. I was really proud of the infrastructure of that office for having that. Talking to psychologist friends who say, oh, we get the report when there's a high postpartum depression score and we actually do something about it. So no, I think what doulas are, what they are amazing at is being highly educated support person, so they can be there for you in those moments, almost like a good friend who just happens to know a lot of resources in the community and a lot about pregnancy. And so I think that's like a really cool niche.
Jennifer, what would you say to someone who feels unsupported on how they can advocate?
Yeah, I mean, I really go back to, if you don't feel supported, even if you don't feel supported in a medical setting, you don't have to go back to that same person. That's okay. You don't have to. And I get there can be some resistance to that, but if you don't feel comfortable going to your provider, this is one of the most vulnerable experiences you can have. And we're talking about human life. Like, why would we just accept that? That's not always easy for everybody. Some personalities will take to that a little easier than others. But if you don't feel heard, who are the people in your life that you do trust, that you do feel comfortable with, who can come alongside and help you? As a therapist, I have no problem advocating with you if it means we need to make some phone calls or we need to talk to some people. But do you have a partner, a family member, a friend, somebody in your faith community, a leader, somebody that you trust, who you know is actually listening to what you are saying and not trying to come up with an excuse or an explanation about why you could be wrong? It's okay to listen to your gut instinct. That's valid.
That's really good advice. Thank you all for that. I'd like to hear a little bit more about you, and I know that the audience probably is eager to as well. What drew each of you to working with new moms and families? And if you can tell us maybe a little bit more about your experience and role. Abby, if you want to start.
Sure. As much as I love my career and could not imagine doing anything else, I actually kind of fell into this career. I did not, this is not what I imagined when I was younger. I thought I was going to be a neurosurgeon, which is crazy. Personality, never going to work. But truly, I ended up add throughout medical education, finding women's health and realizing that so much of my life had been designed around supporting women in science careers and healthcare careers and just in advocacy levels. And that, of course, I just wanted to take my interest in healthcare and education and use that to support women. I do have an interest in like the full spectrum of women's healthcare, and so everything from teenagers who need to talk about birth control and STDs all the way up to women who are ready to fertility plan or maybe didn't mean to be pregnant, all the way to the postmenopausal patient. And I think women have such a distinct healthcare experience from men that we have these huge life changes that happen, and I find that really interesting, and the emotional component particularly interesting. And so I found a lot of joy in supporting two women through this.
Alexa, what about you?
Yes, so I'm a basic doula story. I was watching the TLC back in the day, the birthday, and you just watched a labor and delivery ward. So that was my first understanding. I was around 8 at that time. And, but I had told my mom that what I seen on the TV was love, and I wanted to be able to go to work and have love every single day. So I thought that OBGYN was the only type of perinatal health professional. So that is the educational pathway that I was in. Thought it was the worst day ever. I, worked 4 jobs, all the things, trying to get through school. Had to drop out, finding out that we no longer qualified for federal grants, but they didn't call me until the end of the semester, and I owed it the whole 8 grant. So 19 credit hours before graduating as a double major, right, of biology and high school education. I had to drop out of school and pack back up to Louisville, Kentucky. And I worked trying to pay off the money to go back, and I just didn't think it was going to happen. And yes, I couldn't serve another basket of rolls, if we can tell where I was working at. You feel me? Long story short, I ended up quitting, ended up at this hotel. It was the calmest job I'd ever worked in my life, and I Googled ways to help women birth. And the words doula and midwife came up. Now, clearly, I realized that I couldn't get my transcript still, but I seen the doula, and it was only a $700 training. So I had to call that restaurant back to get my job back real serious. Because there was a training coming to Louisville that weekend, and I wasn't about to wait 3 weeks for this hotel paycheck. So I went in, I flipped them tables that weekend. The class was at 9 a.m. that Saturday. I was at the ATM at 1 a.m. putting my money in to get the ticket. But I'm very blessed. That is how I became a doula. And I was reading a birth book that was required for my doula training class. And this woman at the hotel I was working at noticed the book. I slick thought I was going to get Karen, y'all. It was a hella black book. It was such a black book to be reading at this front desk. But she was an ally. She was aware of the Black maternal health crisis. So she was really just interested. And she called the hotel 3 months later and paid my entire $8,000 balance at Western Kentucky University. And that's how I was able to finish my degree. I just finished as a BSI at that point just to get it done. But the deal was if I took the money, I immediately had to start the educational pathway of a midwife. So that's what put me on that journey, and I've been focusing on nurse midwifery ever since. But my original calling to this work is my mother. She's the best.
I had gotten my license as a general counselor. I didn't necessarily have a plan of going into perinatal specifically. Honestly, what got me interested though in this specialty was or is really one of my closest friends who has had some really horrific fertility issues, and just seeing what she's had to go through and talking with her over years, and especially over COVID, just some of her experience and listening to her was so beyond horrifying. It really opened my eyes. And even then, I didn't really know that perinatal was a specialty for therapy because it's not publicized that much, or at least not in the circles I was in. And then I had an opportunity for a training several years ago. Something came up and there were these different trainings offered, and I thought, oh my gosh, that sounds fantastic. I want to learn more about that. It happened that the training was happening while I was postpartum with my second child, and so that was another eye-opening moment, because I'm going through this training as a professional, and I'm holding my infant, and I'm trying to breastfeed, and it's a mess, and they're talking about stuff. I'm going, oh my gosh, this is me right now. And it just cemented, and then it was like the floodgates of the more I started talking to not just women or the birthing partner, but dads, kind of non-traditional families as well. It was just like all these doors kept opening up more and more and more of how much of a need this really is. And this isn't going away anytime soon. This is not just, I know you've made reference to like the maternal mental health crisis. It's not a one-time event crisis here. There's an ending point. It's ongoing. Absolutely, yes. And so just I don't know, it's like it gave this fire in my belly to hear the personal stories and really see it. And then again, with my own self realizing, oh, things I assumed were normal, maybe I didn't have to just accept, or maybe things could have been different too. And I just keep saying it more and more, and no two stories are the same. No two experiences are the same either. And one thing I will say, I don't know if it's going to come up later, but I really want to make sure it's known that a lot of times we're talking about postpartum and people go to, oh, postpartum depression. Depression is one thing. We're talking about PMADs. It's perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. We're talking about postpartum depression, but it's also postpartum anxiety, postpartum OCD, postpartum psychosis, postpartum bipolar, postpartum trauma. There's a whole big piece that comes with this, let alone getting into perinatal postpartum substance use as well. Like, this is much bigger and broader.
Yeah, and it's so helpful to hear all of your kind of backgrounds and perspectives as we hear you responding to the questions to hear that. So thank you for sharing that with us. We have a few other questions that have come in. And this one, I think, is kind of on the flip side of, like, we talked about the topics that are under-discussed and not talked about, and then someone asked, how can new mothers navigate the overwhelming flood of information and advice available today, and what impacts can that overwhelm of information have on their mental health? So that's kind of almost the opposite of, like, okay, these topics that are just being constantly maybe on social media or wherever we're seeing them, just so much advice.
Yeah, I can start with this.
Yeah.
That is such a common experience throughout pregnancy. Women come to me at some point, most women in their first pregnancy kind of express this sense of overwhelm. And I will say my first piece of advice is turn off social media if you can. Like, detach. I will tell you, even as an OBGYN, when I had my baby last year, I had to turn off social media because it was morphing my brain and my thought processes in ways that I knew were not constructive. It's like kind of crazy how much it affects us. And so that's an easy, tangible step that people can take.
Definitely, I would say hire you a doula. The earlier, the better. I've always said this, and I know people are just like, why? But because I do feel like we help you plan. We actually help you get your plan together. The way I like to describe it, especially because I went through it, is when I was planning my wedding, I did not like how people just assumed that we had a vision. Girl, tell me my options. What is going on? Aren't you the planner? You feel what I'm saying? And so, like, I don't do that to my clients, right? I feel like everything that we want as women, they then give us the mental load on it to be able to enjoy whatever's supposed to be the most important. And then we still help pay for it. So I always really loved the first meeting with my clients, because it's more than just the birth plan. The way that we go over the questions, those questions are guiding questions to help you think of and dream up what you would like your birth experience to be in the first place. Because in my mind, if you were to be like, hey Lex, I've seen this on whatever social media, like, it could have been fire, it could have been evidence-based, it could have been all of that, but was it right for you? Was it right for you? Was it even right for your vision? Because, girl, I don't even know why we talking about it then. Like, and that's what I want to help always teach women is what does it mean when we're saying to listen to yourself? What does that mean and what does it look like? Well, it looks like you having a vision first. So if you don't have that already, then that's why it is easy for you to get mentally overloaded on what's evidence-based. So now you're changing on what's evidence-based, but was that evidence for you? And that's the type of mindset that I try to teach them even in the beginning. Can I go over what a doula does real quick?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
earlier.
please do.
So a doula is a companion person, somebody that provides mental, emotional, and physical support. And that's a very general, broad definition, kind of like how a nurse has a standard definition, but then they're all specialized, right? So doulas are also specialized between being a fertility doula, which is somebody that's usually going to be supporting you, whether it's you're trying to become pregnant or you might be one of these people that you're trying to learn how to control your fertility because you always get pregnant no matter what birth control. So you are a person that really is coming to understand how to track your periods or what can you do if you also now one of those people that birth control is not managing and you have irregular periods, so you're struggling to track. That's what a fertility doula is going to do. They'll support you like how a postpartum doula would support you in a C-section healing type of thing. You know, you still have fertility issues that may cause a surgery, like an ectopic pregnancy, those type of fertility type of surgical things, like they would still take care of you in that sense. Then you have a birth doula. A birth doula is like a yoga instructor. We are trained on the different positions, but not for flexibility like a yoga instructor. We are here to align the passenger, which is the baby, with the exit, the pelvic floor, and opening up the hips to move down and out. That is what a birth doula is supposed to have specialty knowledge in. Yes, I'm also educated in the innovations and the things like that because I am a doula that chose to support all clients. I wanted to make sure that the client has the power. I knew I was going to have a lot of hospital births. I chose to ensure I understood those interventions. And that is where, again, the birth plan comes in and you help with the tools. And then your postpartum doula is a doula that's going to be highly educated on the healing of the mother, how to help encourage those healings in holistic or everyday things, and to also help nurture the bonding of the baby in the feeding practices and early newborn care type of specialty things. And all of those things as well, I go over a postpartum plan, a feeding plan, all of those things, because even they be thinking those options stop on your TikTok at pregnancy. I be trying to tell them, girl, you need to have a plan for everything because you're now the parent and every decision you have is gonna be 50,000 TikTok videos and you have to start shutting them out.
Yeah. What would you say, Jennifer?
Yeah, I mean, we're all saying the same thing. Pare it back. There's no exact, perfect answer with every detail. That is safety seeking of trying to find the answers, trying to find the comfort. It's scary. Yes, that's okay. You don't have to have all of the answers. You don't have to bear all of this information in mind. Baby's coming whether you have this knowledge or not. It's okay. You're going to have some instinct kick in, and ultimately, you know what is best for yourself. You're the expert for yourself. Even if you don't know logically, you're going to have a gut instinct there. Think through things, yes. Plan to the best of your ability, but don't get yourself so stuck on, I need to have everything exactly to this T, because I can guarantee you one thing, it's never going to go to whatever plan that you have. And that doesn't mean it's bad either. It's just not how it works, and that's okay. So bring it back. Turn off. Please turn off your social media. Please don't use AI. Please don't use Google. Please don't use these things for your questions. Make a list of your questions and send them to people who are real people and know and can have a conversation with you about your specific situation.
Yeah. We've had more questions coming in, and I think the next one is also kind of a good follow-up from this. And so thank you all for sending in these questions, and keep scanning the QR code and sending more, and it's super helpful to see what you're interested in. But The next one says, quote, everyone says it, quote, takes a village, and usually that means leaning on family and friends. But what happens when you're at different stages of motherhood than your friends, and you don't live nearby immediate family? What are the best resources, and how do you, quote, build a village when you don't have access to those easy resources? So, because as I'm hearing you say too, like, okay, turn off the social media and the AI, and then I think this connects, because it's like, well, what if you don't, have people around you to ask? How do you navigate that?
The resource that I always go back to is, and I'm sure many of you are aware of it, we were just talking about it before, but Postpartum Support International is PSI. They are the people, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. They are the people for all things postpartum. They're internationally recognized. That's who you get a lot of your perinatal certification trainings through. PSI, their whole endeavor is they provide free services. There are free support groups online for all sorts of specifications for things perinatal. There are things for mothers experiencing different situations. There is postpartum loss. There is support groups for fathers. There are things online where from wherever you are, no matter how much you may not have a village around you, something like that is a great tool. Even if you're not sure where to start, they have a chat line, they have a helpline. You can just reach out and say, this is what's happening, and kind of dump it at their feet. And a real person is going to follow up and contact you and help get you connected with what are local resources for you. Here are support groups. They also came out with an app a couple of years ago called Connect by PSI. Again, it's free, it's regulated, it's monitored. It's not like the Reddit of postpartum or anything. It's a little more legitimate than that. But there's online kind of chat groups and support systems. There are people who are working that, who are trained volunteers. There's also professionals as well who follow up, and they're there to give a little bit more support. So that's one really big resource that I recommend as just kind of a starting point even. And they are, again, they're an international body. So they have chapters all over the country, but even if you are abroad, there are options. They've got language lines. They have options for different languages actively being spoken in support groups. There are so many things. It's a really, really great starting point.
I definitely want to start with encouragement to keep your head up, because I understand and I hear you. I hear that you're also struggling because you feel like you came into this journey with friends that might understand, but right now your friends are at a different point of motherhood. And I came into this, my friends, none of my friends here, my close ones, have had any babies. And the few of my friends that have had children are not in this state. And then even though I did have access, especially as a knowledgeable doula, to a lot of resources that may have helped me, it was very hard for me to be a public figure and then be vulnerable in these spaces. So I definitely also I understand. What has been able to help me be able to turn into my friends who were still my guiding light through this, 1,010%. Was simply just having those real conversations and just being able to still say, hey, I not only want you guys to come over, but I need you guys to come over because I need you to understand where I'm at in order for me to give understanding in where you're at, because we're friends and I need you right now. And I know that's hard as somebody that helps manage family dynamics. It's hard to ask for people to advocate even more. The advocacy just does not stop within the hospital whatsoever. But I trust that your friends are in a safe space. I trust that you have found good friends to whoever I'm talking to. And I think you just got to be open and honest with them, girly. And you need to start thinking about what does it mean to come together as sisters than what y'all used to do. Like, I can't go with my girlies at salsa night no more. I had to tell them. Like, we gonna have this friendship. Like, y'all finna pull up to the park or not? Because I need flexible things that my baby can come to too. But outside of that, I'm very blessed. Bonnie's little weekly postpartum group was fire. And it was a place for me to hide because it was a whole nother part of town that most of the community population I work with and know of me would have never heard of. So it was able to be a safe space for me, even at a time with such racial divide that people probably wouldn't have thought that. But it was that for me. So I'm gonna suggest that to you as well. Like, it don't even have to be a maternity space. If you feel like in that moment that space is holding for you, let it out. You're probably never gonna see those people ever again. I haven't. I sure haven't. And I sure enough let it out. You know what I mean? And that's you're gonna be okay, but that's the best way I think you can go about that intrapersonal issues.
That's great. That's actually exactly what I was thinking of. Was kind of twofold. Just to kind of echo what she said. One, I do think you have to lean into whatever your community is, and that does take a lot of vulnerability. I will say, personally, my partner and I do not have family around. We don't have family that can contribute to our child rearing at this time. But we have an amazing friend group, and we're very open with what this last year has looked like for us, and our friends really showed up, and that was like a really crucial part of our success so far. The other is exactly what I was thinking of. So I don't know if you guys have met Bonnie. If you haven't, you should. She's an amazing lactation consultant in town. Bonnie knows breast. And I think what you've created is so cool. A weekly group where anybody can show up who identifies as a parent, mother, I would say, and be supportive. And I think one really crucial aspect of it is it's relatively anonymous. Like it's not your community. It's not your classic community that you know from work and school and all of that. It's like everyone who is solely identifying with this experience that you're in right now. I think that's really powerful.
Those are some really good ones, and I appreciate people sending in those questions too, so that we can get to some of these topics that we actually planned to discuss many of them anyways today, but it's nice to kind of hear them through the lens of what you all want to hear. So thank you for that. I want to get to access and equitability when it comes to pregnancy and postpartum. And I know that was a topic we had planned for today. And then we also have a question on that. So someone asked, for new mothers from low socioeconomic situations, what resources exist in Louisville for formula banks, donation closets, free diapers, et cetera? But maybe while we're addressing this question, we can zoom out a little bit. So talk about those specific resources, but also maybe any other groups that you see, that need to work to ensure more equitable care and access for.
I can start this off. I think recognizing these inequities is crucial. I think the onus is on clinical providers to really recognize that and create the resources and networks necessary to support people adequately. That being said, cool programs exist in Louisville. One example is at Baptist, we have created a program called the Motherhood Connection that is nurse navigators specifically for patients with Medicaid. Medicaid actually has a lot of cool support resources for pregnant patients. It's like, well, I'll hold my political commentary, but utilizing those resources is really challenging. Even as a physician, I don't understand all the details of how insurance works. It is truly mind-boggling. So how can I expect patients to know that you can get free breast pumps and car seats and formula and all that you need? So we created a program, their sole job. It's 2 nurses who touch base with every single patient with Medicaid who comes through Baptist and says, what do you need? They have a questionnaire with guiding questions to say, do you have transportation? Do you have a cell phone? And so creating things like that as part of a healthcare network. Also knowing about organizations that have food banks like JFCS or Granny's Birth Initiative, which has a collection of resources, diapers, formula, whatever it is. I have a donation for you today, by the way. Yes, of all my breast milk bags that insurance gave me for free. I would love to pass those on when I don't get to use them all, whatever that is. And so knowing that those things are around.
Yeah, that's why we love Baptist. But yes, so we're Granny's Birth Initiative. We are a nonprofit of doulas, and that's what we do. We realize that our power is community resourcing and getting people connected. So it's not even just about our programs that are on site, where we also work with trying to have collaborative referrals. The same way that we know we can get a prescription written so that her insurance would pay for a breast pump. We are trying to let women that are really trying to push for their breastfeeding journeys, did you know that you can get the milk storage bags, and we can try to get those ordered as well. For our belly birth mommies, did you know that you can get prescribed a wedge to put behind your back to support you? They have bed bars too. You can get prescribed a bed bar so you can pick yourself up in and out the bed after you've had a C-section. So even learning more about Medicaid billing, I've been learning more about things we could advocate in that immediate postpartum as well, so that they're not going home trying to buy these things that are on Amazon, which does say that they're HSA, right? But one thing I learned with working closely with the Medicaid population with GBI is Medicaid population is not offered HSA. So that's never an option for them. So it's either we get it prescribed right then and there, or they're usually then left without. But outside of that, though, when they come into GBI, we have a program called Doula Tech, where that's what they're focused on, is getting resources to them. We will call an advocate, or we do have a midwife that's on site if it's something that she is able to still write a prescription for without, or a standing order without her being the overseeing provider of the entire pregnancy and things like that. We'll get any resources that we can mail to them for our unhoused population. If they see us regularly, we can get it shipped to our space. Our space does house the maternity pantry, where mothers and babies can come monthly and get 10 infant care items, a baby blanket, and a book. And we're one of the few pantries that we service all children in the household. So if you have multiple children, if we have clothes that have been donated that are larger enough, or if you have children in 2 different diaper sizes, we will service that. We're also one of the few as well that once you're enrolled, your partner can come, because make it make sense. If we're talking about we're losing women most in the postpartum stage, why are we requiring her to be the one to get up and go to everything? And we do not require that. And we also do not district people by social services. We do our best to get funding in a way that is not zip code barrier people, because it's not even the same way how we know that there's housing red zone districting within discrimination where they give out loans and things like that. I do feel like working in social services, they try to also make it a real struggle to have transitional support into a better, safer, whatever zip code, better school zip code, all those things. So I do not allow that, because our mothers are trying to do better for their children, and it makes them feel real hopeless when now their current assistance is going to be taken away, including the things that directly affect their children. So those are the type of things that GBI as a nonprofit, we do our best to do. My longest running partnership and funding right now is with the city, so it really limits where I can go. But that's what we're always trying to fundraise for, because it's a major big thing that there's people not in certain zip codes that are still having social economical things, or they want me to do it off of your W-2, which was last year, but you broke this year. So, you know what I mean? So those are the type of things where reaching out to those type of organizations like us, that's where we come into. Always keep us in your pocket, because it's not about everything's going well now. It's those all of a sudden things like people are getting changed in their insurance, even due to this current administration, Anthem being changed in their policies. We used to all have access to body nose breast, and then we all started struggling with that. So then even that started coming into nonprofit. We do keep some formula and such things like that, but everything's donation based. There was already a formula shortage, and now we're trying to understand health regulations that we can just create our own cross-feeding, a public cross-feeding to share milk bank. But until then, there's lots of Facebook groups where you can get in there and get some milk. I stopped making milk at 7 months, and I was able to complete the full year getting milk in the human donor milk bank chats. Sorry.
No, that's all really helpful and some good specific places that people can go or can look into to support if they're just more looking to support the community. So thanks. Do you want to share anything on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like between the three of us, I kind of have less immediately in my mind that are there, but something that very, very recently I've been working with one of my clients on is trying to educate myself a little bit more on, based on my client's specific situation and their need and what is accessible to them or not, finding, okay, based on what you're around, what research can I find for what's going to be accessible to you? I was not asked to do this plug-in, but I'm going to do it anyways. One of the things that I realized was we have a family stability case manager who's probably a wealth of information, and I went and talked to her and was able to get a client of mine who has a number of other school-age children, and just talking through, and our case manager was like, they'd be appropriate for this service, and this can go through their specific situation and their insurance. And it's really exciting because this is a client who has struggled on so many levels to get help. And so even just being able to have that kind of in-house collaboration and network and being able to share, I don't know a ton of resources that are going to be right where you, my client, is at, but you're in therapy with me, you're through JFCS, you can come to our food pantry twice a month, and I can help you with that. I can get you connected with case management. We can do a little bit more of that holistic care, and then having some of these kind of networking moments and building those relationships, it just helps to strengthen it too. So I don't profess to have a wealth of things that I pull out in my file, because that's generally not what my focus is in a session, but definitely when it's coming up, it's okay, what are the gaps that I need to learn about more or think about, and even just being reminded of, okay, what are some of the options based on each individual's need?
No, that's really good, because I feel like all three of you were able to share specific resources through the organizations that you represent or you work with. So it shows that, it might not always be obvious, but tapping into those networks, asking the right people can help connect you or someone you know. So thank you for sharing all of that. And I know we'll talk about at the end how people can follow up with you all and stay connected. In just a bit, we have a little bit of time left, though, for some more questions, and we do have a few additional ones that have come in. So this one is, what recommendations do you have for mothers whose children are grown and who want to support new mothers during the postpartum phase? And I'd like to zoom out a little bit, kind of to follow up with the conversation that we're having now with the resources you've mentioned. So maybe it is, a mother whose children are grown, but for any community member who wants to get involved and hears about the need, how can they really get directly plugged in, maybe with some of what you've mentioned or anything else that is a place that they can plug in and help?
I don't know how much you really want to jump in, but there's always space, especially for your community in the postpartum realm itself. Whether you're saying you want to focus on making sure women are healing well, just get yourself trained up, become a postpartum doula. You want to focus on making sure mothers are sustaining well as a newborn care specialist. I always think that there's always a need for those. A newborn care specialist usually call, especially when there's children at home in postpartum. But now this baby's in the NICU or something like that. That's usually when I'm called on a newborn care specialist level, or twins. That's a lot going on. You know what I mean? But at Granny's Birth Initiative, we are always having families that at the end of the day have needs outside of office hours and outside of budgets. And it's whether it's some people, they will call us and just be like, hey, do you have any mothers that have these type of needs that'll fit into this type of budget? And they want to they want to use their time. They said they want to go shopping. That's what they like to do. They want to get those needs, and then they bring it to us, or sometimes they're able to deliver it to them. It's all about the volunteer capacity that you need. But we created Do or Dash, which is a transportation initiative to get mothers and babies to their prenatal and postnatal appointments. And just our women need more than an Uber. We have a woman right now that she has lymphedema and was not able to walk. So when our doulas show up, we're really going in there to get the baby together, to get her together, to be able to get her to her appointments on time, which is more than just, we know in the maternal health crisis that we're losing women postpartum. She had real immediate postpartum trauma to her body that was outside of the norm and needed that higher acuity postpartum support. And there's plenty of value-added benefits on her Medicaid that was transportation for her. But transportation actually catered to women, by women, for women is probably best by somebody that's been through it like yourself, if you are interested.
Anyone else want to add?
Yeah, I think that that's a great point. Also, just straight up donations, I think, is crucial. The reality is that money and finances are so limiting for so many people, and so when you have extra postpartum supplies and you didn't actually use all the stuff that you thought you were going to get, but you got gifted at your baby shower, like doing something with those and not just letting them expire, even if it feels insignificant to you, I can guarantee it is not to the recipient.
Something that I see a lot, I just said backtrack on social media, now I'm going to say get on social media. But there's a couple of different, I know, Facebook groups that are very local things too, kind of on that donation bandwagon too. And it's been really fascinating to just watch how community has played out between strangers. There's, I mean, even like JCPS parents page, there's, I think it's Louisville Freegans, there's Pretty Good Moms Buy Sell Trade. There's a lot of different options on there, but they are ways for, I mean, individuals who are saying, hey, listen, I've got this specific set of donations. Is there anyone who needs this? Let me know what zip code you're in. I'll come drop it off to you. That's huge. And you actually are getting more of that human connection too, which I love. Like, support your nonprofit, support Granny's Birth Initiative, support all these places 100%. And if you're just like, I'm not sure, I don't have the right donations, I don't have the right things, there's other ways too. Another way I would say to support is in a slightly different way. If we're gonna tell new parents and new moms especially, hey, go do self-care, go take yourself to therapy, take the initiative and say, hey, I can drive you to therapy and I'll hold your baby. Or here's a gift basket. It's not baby stuff. This is just for you. My sister-in-law actually did that. She lives in a different state. She sent me this whole gift basket, and it was just stuff for me and nobody else. And it was really wonderful, actually, because nobody else is thinking that. The focus is on the baby. Of course it is, and it should be. The focus is on mom in a very, like, clinical, medical, here's your next wrap and just ways to stuff yourself, and it's really not that exciting or pleasurable either, if we can say that. But take the initiative. Don't leave it on a new parent for, hey, let me know if you need anything. No, I don't have space in my brain to make that decision. I don't need one more thing to do. Take the initiative. Hey, I've dropped off a meal for you or a box of diapers. It's at your front door. I'm not going to come in and bother you, just letting you know it's there. Beautiful. That's some good support right there. Whether it's family, friend, reach out to community, reach out to nonprofits or groups. Hey, is there anybody who needs this? Is there a way that I can help in this way? That feels good. For sure. Yeah.
It's such a great list of ideas where people can plug in. So thank you for sharing those. We're getting pretty close to the end of today's chat, but I did want to make a little time to ask you all for one takeaway you'd like people to walk away with today. And then also please mention where people can follow up and find you as well.
I'm always thinking we starting there.
I know. Okay. Okay. My takeaway from today is that resources exist, communities exist. Look at all the people that showed up here today. I hope you all get to chat with each other because I recognize many of you and you all do really cool things for the community, and there's a reason each of you all showed up today. That gives me so much hope.
Yes, today what I took away is that a lot of people are interested in perinatal health professionals in general, which I'm loving. The topic is not just with doulas, because I feel like the more that we expand this topic, people also better understand what doulas do, because I've been trying to tell people I connect people to resources, but they didn't even think lactation exists. You know what I mean? Better understanding postpartum and the different things, because a lot of people be like, oh, we do have postpartum mental health therapists. And I was like, but have we talked about the trauma that's actually on her body that could be making her feel sad? Because, you know, if you don't feel good, that also will affect your mentality. So I'm loving the fact that this is just being put out there. I'm excited to see that spaces are being creative to be collaborative. And Granny's Birth Initiative, www.gbiky.org. Find us on Facebook or Instagram. It's at GBIKY20. We were founded in 2020. And we just appreciate all that you guys do. And yes, please support. Take a tour. We have one every fourth Tuesday from noon to 1. And it's not just about finances. We're really inviting you guys to come see how you want to put in time, talent, or treasure. The treasure does help build up the pot of gold for those things that are restricted by systemic barriers and things like that. The things that keep us zip code district and being able to help all women when we say we want to birth Kentucky better. We do focus and prioritize Black birthing people and women. But I have never been one to match any energy. And even though I may have lived a lifetime of, you know, the experiences that you have as a Black woman, we support all women. We are still very much united at GBI. And we are unfortunately just in a time where I feel the need to say that. I've been showing up in person. They see our logo, and I've literally seen people turn around. That's not okay. To be honest with you, she was supposed to be a silhouette, but when you show up as a Black person anyway, they still assume. So it's been 6 years now. But literally though, you need to be able to see yourself to be able to get some of these resources. Do not let the way that they use race to divide. At the end of the day, when I was 8 years old, I seen love on that TV. I didn't come into this work because I knew that there was a racial problem about it. And I'm not about to do that work as such all and only with hate in my heart when I'm here to provide love and resources. GBI.
My takeaway for you all is to quote the title of a really great book, Good Moms Have Scary Thoughts. You're not alone. There is help. It's a scary time. That's okay. I'm more than happy to reach out, talk to people. My card is back there at that table. I also left postpartum coloring pages out in English and Spanish, so please help yourself to that as well. That you can reach out to me directly, take my card, go for it. You can reach out to our main intake line. We also have another perinatal mental health certified therapist here as well, and she really wanted to be here too, I know. But we are more than happy to talk to people, even if it's just collaborating and finding, hey, I have this patient or somebody or a friend or whoever, would they be a good fit? Send them our happy to consult and talk about it. I'm also available on the PSI directory as well, but if you're local, this is a much easier, faster, more streamlined way of finding me.
Wonderful. And did you say, do you have a card back?
Oh, unfortunately, my wife took my cards out of my car, which I did not realize until I arrived here today. But you can find me on the Baptist website I'm the only Avihan around.
Perfect. And we will be sending out a list of resources to everyone who is attending today. So if you heard some resources mentioned and later you don't remember them, you'll get that list and the information about the panelists as well. So thank you so much to our panelists for sharing your expertise, your experiences, and everything. Thank you so much to our sponsor, Park Community, and thank you to all of you for attending today's community chat on new moms. And You can learn more about future community chats and get connected with JFCS on social media. So these community chats range on all different topics and needs in the community, so stay tuned for more of those. Follow on social media, and if you could also please complete the survey as well. Is that the survey link? Yeah. If you want to scan the QR code and let us know what you thought about today. But thank you again so much for being here and valuing this topic and being part of the work.